Recording.
Welcome to DXgov governance discussion for June 16th, 1500 UTC. Starting first with the proposal roundup. Tons of proposals out there. We have 23, which I think 24 proposals boosted or pending boosting on XDI and mainnet now. So I think part of this is because we had a little bit of lull from the or backlog from the alchemy problems, but those seem to be mostly fixed now, and we're moving forward with that. So starting first with mainnet, 3 different signal proposals currently live. Number 1, expand DXDAO to Arbitrum 1, 2, DXD buyback program parameters update, and then 3, DX events. The expand DXDAO to Arbitrum 1 proposal is a signal proposal that actually just passed, I think yesterday, on XDI, which basically 3 main things. 1, authorizes a swapper deployment on Arbitrum 1. 2, authorizes a DXvote deployment on Arbitrum 1. And then 3, commits 2.25 million of DXDAO capital to Arbitrum 1, either in the base there or in swapper on Arbitrum. That is set to pass on mainnet, I think, Thursday evening, and then we will do some. We will have a Medium article kind of based off of this plan that we will publish on Friday, and there will be some kind of joint marketing with Arbitrum. I'm thinking that will probably be, they will call us out in a tweet, but hopefully that will be enough to awaken the Marine Army as to aware of DXDAO and Arbitrum. And then the next one, the DXD buyback programs parameters update. So this is one we discussed last week on governance discussion, and we also had a post in the forum that had some polls on different things. The 2 key things here are: 1, it allows for an increase in the slippage tolerance to 5%, and 2, it clarifies that the USD calculation is at the time of purchase, the DXD date of acquisition, which should help us calculate the exact, easier calculate the buyback as it hits kind of the 1 million goal. And the last one is DX events, which David talked about here, and Melanie had been working on that. I think the ECC is the driving force for that. And I think this proposal, I think, just got up this morning. I don't think there is a corresponding XDI proposal. Maybe that would be good, but I don't know if Dave wanted to talk a little bit about the signal proposal, or Melanie.
I can talk a little bit about it. Yes, so this proposal is outlining a stipend for travel costs and accommodations for those who are attending the ECC conference. ECC is coming up in about a month from today, and almost half of our DXDAO contributors will be in attendance. So I've been talking about the importance of community engagement, and this will be a great opportunity for our contributors to network. It's also a time for professional development for contributors to attend the talks and workshops at the conference, but most importantly, we'll have the opportunity to meet one another in real life. So take a look at this proposal. It's pretty much outlining travel cost, accommodations, and then ticket costs for us to go. And then hopefully this will be the first of many proposals to kick off DX events and DX retreats for our community and contributors. That's it.
And yeah,
Awesome.
as Chris mentioned, I just submitted it on mainnet, but happy to just submit it on XDI, of course, as well.
Sure. Definitely. And actually both of the buyback program parameters one is actually still live on XDI too. But I think that will pass, is set to would pass Monday. So then new buyback orders after that would be able to fall under those parameters. So those are the signal proposals, 3 signal proposals up. And then next is the redo using the relayer. So this is additional funding for Omen Squad. So this is a redo of a proposal, I think, from about a week and a half ago. It needed a relayer deployed to allow the funds to be transferred to a smart contract or the multi-sig So we ran into the same problem a month or so ago after the Berlin hard fork and you build a relayer for the dev multisig. And so we had to do the same thing for the Omen squad multisig. And I think we'll probably have to do that for the marketing multisig one there. But this is just a redo of that and to provide some funding to Omen squad into some different, some of the markets. Sky, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Things got delayed a little bit, but like the XTI team is excited to try to market some of the Euro markets on that are on Omen XTI. We have a goal to like fund all the matches, so like the Euro Cup, obviously attention gets higher and higher as like the playoffs happen and the final approaches, right? So we had small markets for all the available early matches, and there were some bets and things on those, and those are being taken down before the matches start. But hopefully we can get bigger funding into like the playoff matches, and the XI team and us, we can try to spread the awareness of that and draw people in as well. And then there was a second redo of that proposal, which is an old one, which is just sitting as a normal proposal. So just not able to delete it, but don't vote on that one.
I think that doesn't even have a title, right? Or like it's not showing up, but that's fine. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'd be interested in the
Euro. Sorry, one thing. There's still on mainnet. I was actually trying to look at some. I needed to like reference an old proposal, and a lot of the text of like the old proposals on mainnet are not showing up still because of this graph issue. If you actually like do a transaction on the proposal, then the text shows up for some reason. So it's almost like you have to activate it to like action it to get it to show up. But you know, it's pretty useless if you can't like reference old proposals right now. So hopefully we can get that fixed, and the Dallas Tech graph team, whatever they did on XTI is working. If they can get that on mainnet working as well, that would be pretty important. It's actually quite useful to be able to reference all the older proposals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if somehow the re-indexing didn't actually get kicked out. I'm going to ping Dallas Tech right now to ask about like maybe we can just try running it again. So part of me is like always afraid to like they'll make it worse, but yeah, I think we need that historical proposal stuff though.
And I guess DXvote does not. Does that have a search function on that? Because I know we can view the mainnet proposals, but is that just like the recent ones?
Yeah, to watch what the latest proposals.
No, I'm thinking like the searching. I mean, I think, as Sky said, like I'm oftentimes like trying to reference proposals, and so it is like kind of if we can be able to reference something, and if we could, you have to search for the proposal like in the past and be able to pull it up. And so it's tough on Alchemy right now, but I wasn't sure if DXvote had like could help out with that.
Yeah, in DXvote we are showing proposals by ID, not by scheme and ID, proposal ID like it happens on Alchemy, and we have a search bar on the search by title, but those proposal works differently, and they have the title in the IPFS hash, and the ones that we are going to use on DXvote, they are going to have it in the contract, so we can search through them. So that's something that we are going to be able to search by state and proposal title on DXvote.
Cool. And just a random tidbit. I've found actually it's good to search by the proposer's address, right? If you're searching for proposal you sent, if you search your own address, all of those proposers come up. Sometimes you forget the capitalization on something that you're searching for too. So that's another way to use that search bar on Alchemy.
Augusto, is it already possible to share a proposal via DXvote?
What do you mean to share proposal via DXgov?
Like I'm sending a URL to someone and they just click on the URL and go directly to the proposal details.
Yeah, if they open it like using mainnet, connected to mainnet, yes, you should be able to see it. For example, if you enter right now on proposal on DXvote on mainnet and you copy paste a link somewhere, the other person should be able to see it because it shows by proposal IDs.
Yeah, so theoretically we could actually like start using DXvote links as like a absolute safe way of making sure that like those links and those proposal references are actually working forever.
Yeah. The problem right now is that DXvote is deployed on my GitHub account, like on augustoel.dxvote. So since it's not deployed yet, we cannot use it like officially.
True.
But when it's deployed, yes, they're going to be like a more standardized way for us to share proposal, like DXvote/proposal/ID, and that's it. You are going to show the proposal anywhere you are connected.
Cool. And I like that as like a way to start using DXvote or integrating it even before kind of fully operational. So maybe something we can think about.
And also, you mentioned how to filter proposals by proposer. If you enter on DXgov right now, I don't know if it works on mainnet, but we have the option to enter the user profile, and you're going to see the entire history of the user, all the proposals he created, where he voted, where he staked it, and we have a lot of information there that I'm going to be displayed. Like you will be able to see on how many proposals did the user vote, like the medium reputation that use on each voting, like a lot of information that we are going to be displaying on DXvote.
Sweet. Then moving along next, the DXDAO Treasury Diversification number 21, ETH to stables. And I think this is, depending on the calculation, should be the last of the V2 authorization. Is that right, Dave? I think.
Yeah.
So that'll be 7 or 8 days away from that. So that's a good process of diversifying. I think maybe good time to take some stock of that process and how it's like played out over the last 5 or 6 months there. Cool. And then next is a LNLHB.com or Inc. worker proposal. This is Kermit's DXD vesting contract that he set up there. Next is Swapper beta release. So this is a proposal that I think actually, yes, it still needs some votes on it. And it needs votes, but if it gets a vote in the next 2 hours, then Swapper beta will be officially released. The ENS will be updated starting tomorrow, I think at 1:50. What's that, like 1600, 4:15 UTC time, something around that, maybe 5:15 UTC time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, it's a huge release. There's been a lot of discussion on it. Hopefully people have been trying it out. You can go in and get the IPFS hash now and start there. I don't know if Zet had any Zet or Federico have any other thoughts on Swapper beta release.
No, that's about it. Should have a vote now.
Cool. And then next is set resolver plus content hash for tokens.omen.eth. I think this is a very similar proposal we had about a week and a half ago, which was basically setting up a similar thing for Swapper. And this is having like a a single list that manages the different token lists across the chains. And so this is setting one up for Omen there, and it's setting the ENS for that.
Yeah, it's actually like the second try. The first try, someone used a multi-call proposal to like batch the creation of the subdomain with like an update to the content hash. And what people don't know, and it seems like developers also don't know, is that once you create a subdomain, the subdomain doesn't have a resolver set up or configured. So that is like a missing piece which was missed on the multi-call proposal. And it seems like this proposal is actually like setting the main default resolver for that domain and then updating the content hash.
Very cool.
And I think it's like this failure is a clear signal that we definitely need to like specify the approach of like how to create a subdomain on ENS naming service. And yeah, if we would have like created a guide, I think that wouldn't be missed. So I think that is something we can approve on.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think subdomains are, I mean, we can increasingly using more and more of them, and probably more in the future, so something to think about. I'm glad you explained it, because I was trying to figure out what that proposal was like a week ago, because we didn't have, this is when it didn't have the, you couldn't see the content proposal, you could just see what the multi-calls were, and it was hard to figure out. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but I guess they were trying to do those two steps into one. Cool. Just a couple more on mainnet. Couple different buyback related proposals. So the first funding proposal for the mainnet buyback actually went through and was executed, I think, on Sunday night. But there was a delay in the multi-call scheme proposal for that. That was primarily due to the issues with Alchemy. But we have we've submitted two buyback order through the multi-call scheme on mainnet. Those will pass, I think, Monday and Tuesday of next week, and those will be the first, the first buybacks on mainnet there. So that should be exciting. Any thoughts on anything on mainnet that we're missing? Any of the proposals outstanding? Anything else that someone would like to bring up? Cool. Then on XDAI, tons of proposals here too. So proposal to fund the Omen Explainer marketing video. This is something Tammy's been pushing and posting in the forum. We've chatted about it a bit, and this is kind of important for the Omen token rollout and there. So I think this is a good initiative to expand some of the things we're using for marketing. Tammy, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, actually, one thing just that I'm going to add to the forum. So I actually received 2 invoices for this proposal, and I need to clarify it. And I had both invoices, and I had received a discount on the project from, I think it was like 10,800 euros to 9,800 euros. Anyways, I got confused about which amount was the correct amount. So the current on-chain proposal is actually going to be asking for like 60% of the amount of funds. So I'm not sure if that's like a deal breaker and I need to resubmit the proposal or not. I'll put it on the forum and show both of the, like, basically put the invoice or whatever for both of those things in the forum so we can see the difference. My thought was I can either cancel this proposal and do a new proposal, or we can just let this proposal go through and just, I pay the first 50% and hold on to that remaining 10% until the whole thing's over. Or give it back to the DAO, however people want to do it. It's like essentially, I think, like a $700 difference basically in the amount of money I should be paying Elio versus like what they actually put in the initial proposal. So just to
clarify, so the total request, I guess, like the total number that they were requesting for this was, I guess, like 13,300. And then
it's less than that because I had 2 invoices from them. They sent me an invoice for euros. It's like 10,800 euros, which is like $13,000. Then they basically delayed and couldn't get me the video in the time that I requested. So they offered a discount. So I had like 2 different invoices from them. When it came time to actually put the proposal up, I basically took me a second to figure out which invoice it was. So when I first put the post up, I had the correct information in there, and then I thought it was the wrong information. You see what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm basically put an on-chain proposal for the first, what I thought was the 50% of the payment, but it's actually, in reality, I think closer to like 60% of the payment, if that makes sense. So I'll put this information like in written form so it's not so confusing on DAO Talk. It was in response to Caden actually asking for a copy of the quote and the information regarding like when we'll do like the follow-ups, and it's all in the quote. So yeah, it's up to everyone if we want to like just cancel this time. I can even like vote against it, or we can vote it through and I can just like return the $700, or it's really up to everybody how they want to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always like to be flexible with the proposals and knowing that the proposal is like already gone through and boosted, right? And the quickest way to get it is for this proposal to go through. So if there's any way to make it with this proposal that can answer and all of the concerns, I think that's the ideal one. I think for this one, it's like the funds are eventually going to go there, and so as long as like the overall number to DXDAO is like the same and there's no kind of contrast on that. I also think it wouldn't be a bad idea. You could just literally send the 700 back to XDXDAO and then just claim it for the next proposal when you do the next payment. But I think whatever it is just kind of documenting it.
Okay, great. So that makes sense to me. So yeah, I'll put just so everyone's aware, I'll put both quotes so it shows what the confusion was. Basically, it's like in the whole history, basically, of the cost difference. And yeah, the amount that I requested would eventually go to the video company anyways. But just to make things simpler, I think just like let the proposal go through, and then I'll just send the money back. That's like the difference basically between the down payment and like what was requested. So it should be like around, I think, $700, $600 or DAI.
Cool.
So yeah, anyways, that's it.
Yeah, I think the fact that there needs to be a second proposal anyway, right, to like receive the total amount at the end of the day, and the fact like it's actually great that we get like a discount. So I think that it's a win for the DXDAO, and that can also be clarified on the second proposal.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry for the confusion, but I figured might as well share it so it's transparent. Yeah. But okay, thanks.
It's crazy how solutions or how many solutions are just send money to DXDAO, and that's like an easy thing because it's like an easy one way there, and you can always, it's like the member balancer approach. But cool. Okay, and then there is just looking at XDAI proposals. I guess jumping around a little bit. So there is the funding proposal for the swapper farming liquidity relayer. So this is 140 XDXD and 15.3 WETH to the swapper farming liquidity relayer. That was liquidity relayer that was tested. We had a test proposal earlier on Monday there. And so this would just be the funding proposal that we actually are still waiting to do the actual I guess, campaign creation proposals, or the multi-call proposal that actually creates the farming campaigns themselves. We still need to do that for both mainnet and XDAI, but this is the farming proposal there. And then there are contributor proposals for Caney Fork, myself, Hexel, and Dev Violet. And those are up. And then on the XDAI side, in terms of the buyback, there's a couple different things there. We actually have 3 proposals that are in the queue there. Number 9, and then number 10, and then actually just submitted and boosted, but right before the call, number 11. And so those should, if you check out the buyback orders sheet, we should have. There's a little bit of coordination here because if you have XDAI proposals that take 5 days, and then mainnet proposals that take 8 days. And the buyback program, where you're supposed to have not more than one a day. So I've been trying to line these up. So we should have starting, I think, on Friday, almost a proposal every day, starting with XDAI and then switching over to mainnet there. And yeah, and then related to that, there are 2 proposals in the multi-call scheme for requesting WETH back to DXDAO. So if you'll recall, we had proposals to do this for DXD a week and a half ago. And so this is the DXD that was acquired through the buyback, right, through the Gnosis protocol relayer, getting that DXD back into XDXDAO. And that's actually the DXD that's being used for the farming campaigns. But there is also some WETH that's stuck into the WETH in Gnosis protocol from orders that weren't filled and orders that then expired. So the question is like how to get this WETH either back to DXDAO, or how do we get this WETH to be used for new buyback proposals, since we're doing some of those. So I think the conclusion is that it actually has to come back to XDXDAO first, and then the other proposal can go. So this is a proposal. It's actually 2 different proposals to first request the WETH withdrawal and then to actually withdraw the WETH. And I think that'll be the way that we have to get the WETH back from that. But presumably then just from there, we'll send it. Actually, the latest buyback proposal actually relies on WETH from some of the WETH from this proposal going through. So hopefully it'll just be like a circle of that. And it's just another thing that we need to coordinate around.
Yeah, so the Gnosis protocol relayer doesn't have the flexibility to like reissue orders on Gnosis protocol from like excess capital that's like didn't get used on previous orders. There's a check that makes sure that it has the balance on the relayer itself, which in general makes sense, but it like limits the flexibility a bit here. So just like Chris said, we got to do the full round trip before things can be reissued.
Thinking this out loud, is there a way that you could do the order without taking the WETH from the relayer?
Yeah, I thought that too, but it actually, so there's 2 steps. This is kind of characteristic of Gnosis protocol, but there's actually 2 steps to withdraw from Gnosis protocol. So you have the 2 proposals that you know, the first one actually does that first thing that like you have to tell Gnosis protocol that you want to withdraw first, and then the second thing you have to do with Gnosis protocol is withdraw it. The reason we can't do what you just said, which is like leave it in the relayer and then do another proposal, is that the function in the Gnosis protocol relayer that does the second step on Gnosis protocol also just automatically sends it back to the DAO. So that's it doesn't stay in the relayer actually like at any point. So yeah. There may be actually, I'm a little rusty on like the thinking on this. I think that may be important in general because you could potentially have capital like going in for other things too. I don't know. I mean, the checks are good, but it does limit the flexibility.
Yeah. But I mean, I think this is somewhat related to the tokens Omen comment that Geronimo was making earlier about it's just like us doing these and figuring these things out. We do learn a lot about how to operate, and yeah, it's tough to simulate everything and kind of think of everything, and nothing kind of replaces just doing it and adjusting to things that you run into. Cool. Well, that's, I was going to say it for the proposal roundup, but that's like a lot. I know that was a big chunk of them. Any thoughts on proposals outstanding?
So I have a question about the process, because I have an idea for a proposal for Omen. So basically it would be a proposal to change some parameters of the Omen, which would reduce impermanent loss. So is that something that should be done just working with the Omen team, or is that something that should have an actual proposal to do it?
Yes, I guess like it probably makes sense in general to talk to the Omen squad about any kind of like configuration change for the DApp or the smart contracts? To really answer that question, though, I guess we'd have to understand whether it's even, whether the change could be made via proposal, or does there have to be like a deployment of smart contracts, or I guess it depends what the change is.
Okay.
Yeah, and one other thing, just like process-wise, like I think it's also just like for figuring out your own thoughts, it could be great to just like write it in like a discussion style forum post to see, you know, just like general feedback from the squad and the community about the idea. And yeah, like obviously you write a lot, so that could be a good idea as well. And then people can, you know, the excitement around it will also kind of direct whether or not it's like worthwhile for the squad to work on.
Yeah, you can definitely like ping in the development channel, or if you want to do it privately, just like DM some of the devs. And like, yeah, for example, some things are configurable via proposal. Like we can set the protocol fee on Swapper, right? But other things, you know, are maybe hard coded in the smart contract, and you can't just change with like a proposal that adjusts the existing things. It would like involve basically redeploying the product. It kind of just depends what the change is.
Okay. The change would be basically adding a fee for early withdrawal of liquidity, but I'll make a forum post about it. So thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say even before the forum post, like run it by the Omen devs, because they might have some good feedback to the idea, and kind of vet it before you get to the forum.
Right.
Yeah, I think in general, two thoughts are: one, all proposals, technically DXgov governance is permissionless, right? So there's nothing kind of like stopping any proposals being submitted. But I think that the general consensus is all proposals should somehow start in the forum, right? Whether that's a specific thread, or you see things like the Treasury Diversification Authorization Program, how that post is referenced in subsequent proposals. The same thing for the buyback ones. So any proposal, like at some point, should have its lineage, I think, in the forum. And then I think to John's point, it's good to think about what exactly is governable, right? And so there's either the protocol level, right, where we're like, these are the smart contracts, and there are certain actual things you can raise, lower, or kind of change, or the broader governance power, which is, this is Omen, this is Swapper, and like DXDAO is kind of anointing that, and that's obviously through these ENS proposals that are actually changing the product itself, and that's the ultimate like governance power. But there's a lot of things kind of wrapped in what would get into those changes itself, and so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically possible that you could fork the repo, make the change yourself, and propose it to the DXDAO, right? That's actually possible, and that's an important part of how we're set up. But you know, practically speaking, as like a full-time contributor, it makes sense to talk to the devs on the squad to get their feedback. Yeah, in general.
Because like, what would make rep holders like vote on, oh, this new ENS proposal like comes through? It's like, I mean, I'm a rep holder and I look at all the proposals. I would talk to the squad and talk to different people and want to understand that. But yeah, it's just it's anyone can technically, you know, we can do it, and that's important for the governance.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mentioned the idea already in the Omen Squad chat, but I guess the next step then is to make a forum post.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Yeah, and then just the discussion items, a couple things to chat about. Today, there's been some good discussion on Mesa or Aqua, and Martin's been chatting about this a little bit and thinking about how like Mesa's next step and wanting to, I guess, move to Aqua. And I think the question is, if everyone has consensus or that's kind of the direction, is there like some governance signal that we need, or like what should the process be for rebranding a product? So Martin, if you want to.
Yeah, we discussed this in our weekly call like 1 hour ago. And that is that Sky helps me, or Sky makes like a draft for a DAO Talk proposal, where we will just go out and tell everyone that the Mesa team now would like to have Aqua as a new name, and then we ask for feedback if there's any opposition, and we will see what's coming back. And if there is like opposition, or there's like people start like recommending other names, then we will maybe open it up to a broader discussion. And then even if we do the rename, I think we need like a signal proposal. Yeah, we want to have like a open process and see what's the feedback, and then we will move on from this. Yeah.
I'm not sure calling it a rename. Like this is a totally separate product.
Yeah.
Mesa, we're using Mesa right now. We're using it for buybacks. Mesa is the Gnosis Protocol V1. We have a new product. We have a new product called Carrot. We didn't rename it to Carrot. It's called Carrot. We have a new product which does which does token offerings, and we need to name it, right?
Yeah. Maybe this is more the discussion than the renaming. That's true.
Yeah, I think publicly that thinking makes sense, right? Like I think internally, like there's a lineage there, right? Where it's like, okay, there are ideas of Mesa. That's why, like, continued development and the money that was spent like makes sense. So but I mean, I basically agree with Skya, like outwardly facing, like anybody in the community, it's going to be a completely new product essentially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is the reason Skya helps me, because I'm really stuck into the Mesa name, if you have talk about the Mesa doing the buyback, I always was like a signal to me. Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah, I think Skya's point is also kind of related to Caden's question about like what can a proposal do, and like in this case, it is like it would just be a naming, because I don't think there would be any proposal to change the ENS, like to redirect Mesa.eth to something else, right? It's really not like kind of, we're not really that interested in that at all. We're kind of this new product, this new thing, and creating something new. And so like, what is the governance process for naming that? And I think, a signal proposal kind of going through that, I think is the best bet, and we'll see how people kind of react. But I think it is important that we try to use language ourselves that is feeding into the brand of Aqua and not falling into the old ways.
And of course, Mesa, the original one, will be also a topic at some point. What we have to do, what we do with it, because I don't know but it's not for now.
Yeah, that what Martin was just saying is we were discussing also if at some point like actually Gnosis Protocol V1 like is not usable, something has to happen with Mesa.eth, right? Like you either have to put a dead landing page or a redirect to DXgov homepage or something. You can't just leave Mesa.eth as it is. We should also think about that maybe with Rails. I think Rails like works as it is, but maybe there's another note we could put on there so like people aren't thinking Rails is like a product that's being like, maybe there should be a note that this is like not in development or something like that, or it should be taken down. But active management of all of our ENS actual pages is important in governance for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things if there's like a launch of a different product than the Mesa.eth, like in terms of withdrawals and people being able to go back and get whatever they can, like we don't really have to worry about redirecting people. We just need to change the messaging on the main page that it's not actively being maintained, that the Gnosis protocol is going to be sunset. Like we probably should be working on that sooner rather than later, actually.
Yeah, on mainnet, there are people have hundreds of DXD deposited into Mesa. And so we don't really know who those people are. Maybe we can try to find some wallets, but it's like those people theoretically need to withdraw their DXD and other tokens from Mesa as it becomes defunct. Or from Gnosis Protocol, I mean, not from Mesa.
I want to make a comment in the chat, but I won't. Because there's a joke about Martin and then the other Martin.
I know, I got it.
I don't know what the joke is. It's just we can all laugh. Yeah, well, that's cool. I think this is, yeah, I think we're on the right page, and it's kind of a good example. And I think you said like Rails, like this is kind of thinking about how other products in the future.
And generally people here are okay with the idea of like the squad that's been working on the product suggesting a name and some of the logic and reasons why for like a potential naming of a product, and saying, are there any like total like or is anyone totally against this, and if so, like are there other suggestions, rather than like start from the ground up with like a whole like submit from the community and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like delegation of like idea power to teams within DXDAO community that already are like focused on certain things, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, I think the DXDAO would kind of shoot in his own foot if the DXDAO would basically decide against the working group itself, right? If the working group is unhappy, then the work results of the working group will probably not be like the greatest.
Right.
Like, I think we should encourage bottom up as much as we can, and if the team says rebrand, then there's it should be a very high chance that the DXgov should go with it.
I mean, I'm happy with the name. Like, what is your team happy because you have another product name? So I don't see myself like, this is something super important. Like, this is just a name.
I mean, imagine where we'd be if we let Augusto name everything. I mean,
oh my!
It'd be Mate Swap, like Perloche.
You don't want to tell my name,
Sato,
but yeah. I mean, name is like rule. If DXDAO decide like Aqua is a shit name, I mean, okay, that's it. It's not that they are going against. They're going, I guess, against the wishes of the team. Who, like, I mean, if you have a team in Argentina, they would want to name it, I don't know, Mate or something like that, you know. So I don't see that it's something like, if this is just an option or an issue suggested by the team, and most likely DXgov will support it. But
yeah, I go back to what Nylon said about like when DXgov runs on initiative kind of thing. It's sort of like any other sort of significant moves, like there needs to be enough of a consensus, right? And it sort of makes sense that it would emanate from the squad. I mean, that sort of makes sense. But if it was like a terrible idea, then it would probably get some pushback. Right? Yeah.
Personally, I think it's awesome that the DAO can say, no, guys, you are, we don't want to name Mate the new app. So I think it's a good, like, I don't know, like security or
checks
safety net,
and balances.
Right? Yeah, safety net for shit names. So Aqua is a nice name anyway, so I think we'll pass that. If a squad came up with a crazy proposal, I guess that will say, no, guys, this is not. Right, protection against shitty names.
Cool. All right, well, thanks, Martin. I think that's we've at least a path forward in Sky.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Just moving along. Swapper update. I didn't really have much to say, except I just wanted to talk a little bit on the governance call that Swapper token is being discussed. There's been some calls about it. There's a document in the that's floating around the Keybase. So if any thoughts, and then I think we'll be meeting more, and then hopefully getting a forum post up soon. Zet, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to tease or preview. Lots other in Swapper land, but Swapper token is also being discussed.
No, not much. I think the only thing, maybe John, what you said, that we might repeat is just the process of how we deploy stuff. I don't know if this is a right call to talk about it, but
it's always the right call to talk about it, because I don't think it's super intuitive. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying I'm going to extract like that 1 minute video of you basically explaining. And I got accepted to talk in ETH CC, so I'm gonna basically, I don't know if I'm gonna like play it, but definitely like this is an interesting process.
You gotta remix it. Get a little music in the background.
Maybe I'll read it.
Geronimo add some loops to it.
Yeah.
DJ Kero.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
He's a DJ Geronimo because Geronimo has the loops.
Yeah.
The problems Geronimo has with his mic when it just starts like.
But I think we should lead with like how DAOs do anything, and I think how DAOs should deploy is a very, very nice topic because we don't see a lot of projects do this, and yeah, we still also exploring what is the best way.
Yeah, and so I can go over that again. Now I'm a little anxious that I won't do as good of a job as I did on the video that Nylon wants to cut. But like, it's basically not like you're used to with other projects deploying, right? Like a typical Web 2 company, and really most crypto projects, like, they have a dev team, they deploy, and they're like, there it is, it's up, like, go have fun, right? Like, that's not how DXgov works, because we're trying to build a scalable, decentralized, like resilient organization. We have a little bit of a different process, and it's sort of like 3 steps, right? And so the first step is, well, it's a lengthy process, but it culminates in a release of the product. So the first step is the squad, the dev squad, like for that product, the swapper squad, finishing what they think is like a release, like this beta release, and then announcing it to the public, right? So we do that like on Keybase and Discord. Potentially it could be done through other channels too, but what that does is it basically tells the world that this thing is ready to be deployed, right? And then there's the second step, which is actually deploying the new release, the product, to IPFS where it lives. And anybody can do this. It's been publicly announced by the squad. You can verify that the build is the same, that it like produces the same IPFS hash as what the squad was getting. And so anybody can put this IPFS and make a proposal then, right? So it has to be the same person, right? Because that deploys IPFS that makes the proposal, because only they're going to know where it is unless they somehow told other people, right? But you can say, okay, hey, it's deployed. And now here's the proposal, and the proposal is teeing up the third step, which is the consensus and acceptance of that proposal by the DAO, right? So after voting happens, and if the proposal passes, the final step is that the content hash field on the ENS name that DXgov owns, so like swapper.eth for the beta, that gets updated to point to that IPFS hash. So, so 3 steps, right? It's like release, deployment and proposal, and then like acceptance by the DAO that resolves the ENS thing. I think the point I was making yesterday was that there's really like 2 key features here that we're after, and one is separating the developers from the actual like deployment and launch of the product. I think it adds like flexibility, and it gives devs more like security basically, and so it allows the DAO to be more powerful by enabling devs to do work and without having to like take on any kind of like legal risk of deployment or ownership of the actual product, right? I think that ties into how people see code as free speech. The other important aspect of this is like verifiability, right? So in order for this to be a scalable, decentralized process, verifiability is like a very key aspect. That's like why if you look at how blockchain technology works, that's sort of at the core of everything, right? So the fact that you get this reproducible hash of the product build for the beta release is really important, because that enables anybody to deploy it and have confidence that they're deploying what the devs had released, and it allows anybody to look at the proposal and verify that the thing that was deployed is what the devs released, and the code that anybody can also see on GitHub to again just to like verify. So yeah, separating devs from deployment and verifiability of the product for the like entire collective, basically for the entire world essentially.
And verifying proposals is really fun too, because it's just like you just get the right answers, or hopefully you should. So, and there's, I don't know, a lot of the proposals like have steps of verification. You like go into Etherscan, Black Scout, you're learning a little bit more about it. So it's cool.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good practice with the proposals. Is the proposals should be explaining how to verify, right? So that it's not like some opaque process. I mean, it is usually a little bit technical, and you need to maybe have some software or whatever. But it is at the end of the day like a pretty straightforward process.
Also, it's awesome that you are recreating the application that is going to be hosted online. I mean, locally. You have a hash of it, and you are verifying with your peers, with your coworkers, and everyone is getting the same hash. So that's how every dApp that is managing or that is handling funds should work, right? You should be able to trust 100% that the dApp and the code that you are using is the one that is deployed. And we on DXgov, we provide that insurance that if the code that you are using, it was verified by us, and it cannot be changed, or the only way to change it if it goes through a proposal, right? So it's super safe. Where other apps, like you are consuming the app from a server, so they can change it anytime they want. They can be attacked. They can have a malicious app. They can have one line of code can make you send transaction to an address that is not the one that you want to use, and you can lose a lot of funds. So our apps, I think, are maybe the most secure around because they are verified by an entire organization, and the deployment process is very tough. It's very hard.
Awesome stuff. I just want this to be packaged in a way and somehow respond to all of the DAO professionals that have proliferated Twitter the last month that have ideas on what DAOs are doing and changing, and it just seems like these type of things is really where the innovation is happening, the conversation is happening, not in platitudes about people working seamlessly through the blockchain. But
it's like the that food expert in New York, right? That wrote about the Big Mac without actually eating the Big Mac. It's like what we have on crypto Twitter in a bull market, right?
That's exactly it.
A bunch of DAO experts that really have probably never voted on anything, don't understand the difference between a multi-sig and all the governance process. But yeah, we need to work on that for sure.
Yeah. We also face this issue that even like I was mentioned before, even people who really care about DAOs and are big in this space, they plus most people don't seem to care if a product is actually owned by a DAO. Now, it matters when regulatory people come and all that kind of stuff, and that's it only matters when it matters, right? Decentralization only matters when it matters. But at this point, people don't really care that much.
This always happens in a bull market, though, right? In a bull market, people lose their way. But you got to remember the reason this entire space exists, right? It goes back, you read the original Bitcoin white paper, it's all about the decentralization, right? And ultimately, if you aren't true to that, and I like listening, everybody should listen to Chris Dixon talk about the pure form versus the weak form of technology. The pure form, he says this, right? The pure form ends up winning, right? But in these hype cycles, you get people propagating and talking about and feeling good about the weak forms because they're maximizing for something, right? They're making money, they're increasing their Twitter follower count, they're shilling something, right? But at the end of the day, gravity pulls everything back down to earth, and this space is driven by decentralization, and that's ultimately what matters.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I just read Twitter without pulling my hair out, but I think it's
it'll sober up. It'll sober up when the prices come down.
I know
Don't worry.
We make it also very clear in our manifesto, right? We haven't visited ETGame, but it will be good. I know the next governance call or some, maybe the next governance call, go around it again and review it in the public call, so everyone can see what we are pursuing, because the manifesto kind of got lost. It was a big deal last year, but now it kind of got lost, right? Once we read it, but it would be good to revisit it again.
Yeah. It's a good document, I think.
That
The first
express
document
that John is talking about, that we want to be 100% decentralized, no single point of failure. So
I think we should definitely try to get that language into the landing page, the new landing page. If that document is that important, we want everyone to they don't need to read everything, but the main points. We should integrate that to the brand somehow. I think it's relevant. I actually didn't think about it when we started talking about the landing page, but I don't know, maybe Keenan did.
Yeah, I think also though I think the term decentralization is not well defined in the DeFi community, which is funny, right? So there's technical decentralization, then there's organizational decentralization. And I know the manifesto gets into it a little bit, but we need to define kind of, maybe it's a good time, annual revisit or something when the manifesto was first voted on, about where we are in that process and what we need to improve upon to be truly decentralized. And I think that also plays hugely into governance 2.0 and giving DXD holders their say in voting on the stuff with DXDAO and the Treasury. And I know that's on our agenda, but I think that's part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a super, super important initiative. Basically reflecting on the decentralization progress, right? And the beauty is we actually have that all on chain, and I think it will it will show us where to improve.
And I think we have opportunity to add definition to these ambiguous terms, right? It is kind of crazy to think that DeFi is unaware of what is decentralization actually mean to it. But I think the term DAO is also, it's kind of a loaded term and abused a lot, and nobody really knows what exactly it means. And I think but that ambiguity and that uncertainty is opportunity at the end of the day for somebody like us to put a flag in the sand, right, and actually tell it how it is.
Yeah, one interesting idea is to actually create a visualization of DXDAO decentralization progress. So since Genesis, how did we actually improve? Which is I think having a visualization of that is first marketing, if we actually did well until now, and then it's clearly showing that we need to do way more and put focus on that.
Definitely. We are running just over the hour, but Augusto, I wanted to, if you had a DXvote update or looking for some scheme parameters.
Yeah. Well, if you want, we can turn on the call here and we can talk about the scheme, because it's going to take, I guess, some time, maybe 10 minutes or something.
Okay. So why don't we do that? But Melanie, before we go, maybe pitching for the Contributor UX call after that, but any update here?
Yeah. So as discussed earlier, we're starting more work on DX events. We have our first signal proposal up on mainnet, and we'll have it up soon on XDAI as well. This week, we also welcomed Medusha, a new developer, to Mesa. Martin and I have been onboarding him this week, and he will have a live worker proposal on DAO Talk in the next few days or early next week. As well as that, lastly, we're finalizing the new proposed contributor level guide and compensation. There have been many updates to the following areas: contributor levels and increase in compensation just to meet market standards, and new parameters around DXD calculations. The plan is to have a post up on DAO Talk next Monday, and I'll walk everyone through the details of the new contributor compensation level guide and compensation in next week's meeting. So that's just a quick update on contributor UX, and then we can move to Augusto.
Cool. Well, thanks. I guess we can stop the recording. Sky, this is the end of the government. Yes, stop.